Hello, this is Christine Lewicki for the blog I Quit Complaining. A while ago, I took a 21-day challenge to quit complaining, and it completely transformed my life. And with this blog, I'm very committed to share with you what I've learned along the way in my journey. One thing that I find pretty surprising is that if I had seen my own book in a bookstore, I have a book, it's not out in the US, but it's in France. It's called J'arrête de râler, and it means I quit complaining and bitching. The book should come out in the US very soon. If I had seen my own book in a bookstore, I would not have bought it. Because I know that back then, I could not see myself as a complainer. I've always been pretty outgoing. I've always been pretty positive. Since a very young age, I've been saying that life is good, la vie est belle in French. And if I had seen my own book in a bookstore, I would have said to myself that I don't need to quit complaining because I don't complain. And of course, I have people in my life that I have identified as big complainers. And I think we all have that. Maybe it's a colleague at work, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend. Some people who are never happy, they're always the victim, and it's not really fun to be around them, like they drain us. I know I was not that person. And so I couldn't see the need for me to quit complaining, okay? Except that one day I went to bed after I put my own kids to bed and after, the third glass of water and their need to go pee-pee after and all the little drama around putting the kids to bed. And that night I went to bed and I crashed into my bed and I really felt that I had a terrible day. And then I realized that that terrible day was a normal day of my life, but that what happened is that all day long I had all those tiny complaints. All day long I had all those moments where I was resisting what was happening. And I was not making a big deal about it. I was not very loud about it, but I was resisting what was going on. And so that was my style of complaining. And I think a lot of you may recognize yourself where you're not that very loud complainer, and maybe you have this odd, I realized that sometimes I was complaining with a smile. I'm pretty positive, and I tend to do that. But the price of this is that at the end of the day, I was going to bed exhausted. And all of a sudden I asked myself, what would my life look like if I could get rid of that habit? If I could get rid of that habit of complaining, if I could live my ordinary life, what I call my not always very sexy life, what would happen if I could go through my not always very sexy day and go through it without resisting it? If I could go through it and not have those moments where I was complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining, even though it was not very loud. And I got excited. I got excited because I was like, that could be awesome. That could give me, that could open up for me the possibility to really experience my own life. Part of the whole reason why I did this challenge, it's because I realized that one day I was going to die. And I realized that I refused to die one day with the realization that I had resisted my entire life. I wanted to find a way to connect with the bliss of my ordinary life. And that's why I took that 21-day challenge to stop complaining. So I wanted to share that with you today. Have a good day.